Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Monday morning meeting. This is Herschel Foran from High School Top 200. Thank you for joining in. If you're new to this, like and subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Share it with your friends. Let them know what's going on in First 15 rugby around the country. And this is pretty much the only spot that you can get a lot more information than just watching a game on TV. I give you a lot of... for those that don't know, I give you a lot of background and substance and some, information about what you're watching, who you're watching, where they're from, how good they actually are, all that kind of stuff. And giving you just the little nuances that go into First 15 rugby as well. That sort of makes it what it is. And we've got the best talent in the world at First 15 rugby. We're right up there. South Africa's probably right behind us. Actually right behind us and kind of actually on par. I'll be able to be fair about this. They're on par with us as well, and we put out a lot of good players, both countries, and so it being rep season time, that would be the time that I would want to play South Africa actually every single year. It should be done. It's just too far away, I guess. And New Zealand rugby is not going to spend any money on that. South Africans will spend the money on it, but not New Zealand. I don't think so. But for those that don't know, this is the place that you're gonna get all the First 15 information that you want, all the First 15 information that you didn't know was actually there. I give a lot on players and schools and traditions of both teams and how they do in these times. And I'm not really one of those to talk about the history of something. Tradition, yes. History, no. That's not really my thing. I like the current players. I like the guys that are putting in the work now. And I think sometimes, I've wanted to talk about this a lot, but a lot of times, sort of the old school fellas or the old heads, look at high school rugby very differently. A lot of guys, even sort of my age, look at it very differently, whereas I kind of don't really understand why. Because we grew up sort of in the same era of we didn't know who was being selected for what team and if they even should have been there or not. And for those that don't really know and for those that are not really informed on how First 15 rugby used to be and, how things were done, is that you were pretty much just selected and your name was put in the papers or sometimes Rugby News. I remember Rugby News used to have a page at the back just for First 15 rugby, and I remember looking at that all the time and looking at the teams that were named. And I remember for the first time I saw one of my cousins' names, Nick Fitzimanu, who was playing for St. Pate's Town, and he made New Zealand secondary schools as well, but I saw him in what it used to be was how the region teams used to be. It wasn't Blues, Chiefs, Hurricanes, and South Island. It was Northern Region A's and B's. Northern Region A's and B's was from the top of the North Island down to Rotorua would have been the last known place. I think I might have went down to Taupo, but obviously from Rotorua boys and across. Then the Hurricane region with Taranaki. It was those guys were the Central region and they had one team, and then the South Island had one team by themselves. And so the Northern Region A's and B's, that used to be the majority of the players that used to make New Zealand secondary schools used to pretty much come from there. And then you would get a good group of guys that came from the Central region, which was obviously the Taranaki, and joined up with the Hurricanes. So all those New Plymouth boys and that, they all used to go down to the central side, and that's kind of how it was. And really, if you didn't know, you pretty much didn't really know anybody else around the country. You really didn't know. You really didn't see anything, read anything, see any games or anything like that. You just trusted that those guys were the best ones that were selected, and they just trusted too that those guys on the other side of the field were the best ones that were selected. And then they did that. The trouble with that was, and this is kind of like why I do what I do, is that the trouble with that is that no one else had any kind of rebuttal for how that person deserved their spot. There was no kind of real argument, and then even it was suspect in terms of where this person got the information from. For example, is that I know for a fact 100% that scouts, rugby scouts, selectors, guys like that within New Zealand rugby at this level as well, those that are out there got lazy on their jobs, and then they just started choosing guys that their mate said was he's a solid rugby player, he's great, but they never even went out there and watched him. It's not that they didn't have the resources to do it, or they didn't have the money to do it, they just didn't want to do it. They just didn't want to waste their time on first team rugby and high school rugby, so they just go, I trust this guy, and his opinion is solid to me, so we'll just select him. Not even knowing that this kid probably couldn't even handle that level of rugby. And you got a lot of guys like that. There was a lot of people like that. But and so when it came to selection time, and when it came to the trainings and the trials and stuff, those boys were way, way out of their league in terms of the guys that they had to play with. And so play with and play against. And then and you know what it's like, right? You know how it is in terms of like when someone deserves to be, or when someone doesn't belong in that group of players. And then the reason how you know is that, and I try and tell and explain it to people, is that when I come and watch rep trials or rep games, I know who all the boys are that are from small schools, and you can tell because they are the ones that when everybody's warming up, they don't know how to warm up in terms of their position. They don't know how to get with the other guys in their positions and then go, yeah, this is what we're doing, and then everyone just does it. Whether you're scrummaging, working on your footwork, working on passing, cross the line, kicking, bombing, all that kind of stuff. Those guys are the ones that don't really know what to do, and then they're kind of just standing around, kicking the grass around, doing some stretches, old school stretches that they were just told because they don't know any better. Like, they haven't really been told how to warm up properly. And in their team, they don't do warm-ups properly. And then when it gets to the game, is that they know the game plan, but they're just not used to the pace in which it's played. In training, it's fine. They're fine because you are told what to do and you know exactly what you're doing. But when it comes game time, a lot of them don't know the speed of the game. It gets too fast. And then these guys that were selected and probably shouldn't be selected, and shouldn't have been selected, get selected, and then they end up looking worse than what they actually are. Because they are good players, but they need that time to catch up to that speed. And this is the other point that I make in terms of recruiting, is that some of these boys that should be in bigger schools that go to smaller schools really should be playing at big schools, but for whatever reason they don't want to leave. And then when it comes to rep time, most of them can't hang with everybody else. When if they had gone to a bigger school for the last 2 years when they got their scholarships or their offers, they would be up to par and it would be no problem, and then they would actually deserve to be there. A lot of guys don't deserve to be there, but they just don't know the pace. They don't know how fast it actually is, how hard hitting it actually is, how faster those defenses are. Because you play Super Rugby, you play Super 8 Rugby, and you play Mars Toyota and 1A, and the defense is fast. And then you get everybody who's on the rep team that's good, and that speed of defense goes up even faster. So if you're stuck at somewhere like first five, or if you're supposed to be the open side and the prop beats you there, and then you're just like, oh, holy crap, I was like, I got to move faster than this, because like your props are all, top line players as well, and they're playing fast as, and then the prop and the hooker are beating you to the thing, and you're like, oh, shoot, like I'm supposed to be the open side. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. They should have just left the bigger schools. Then you got guys like this year, Toby Taylor, who took a few games to catch up, but he's caught up. Those guys are an exception. Really are an exception. Not everyone can just do it just like he did it. Another guy was kind of like that too. And I know it seems silly to say it now because he's an All Black, but the guy that's like that now is Luke Jacobson. Is that like when he got into the reps and under 18 reps, he was fine and he was okay. He didn't blow me out of the water, but in terms of like the rankings, because I had him making New Zealand Barbarians and not making New Zealand secondary schools. But that's because I didn't watch him like that, and he wasn't as dynamic as the other players that I thought were. And then he made New Zealand secondary schools, and then obviously he's the Luke Jacobson that we know now. But he's like another guy that's an exception, is that he came from Cambridge High School, small school, but he played at a really high level. And I remember him at year 11, and then even asking Mitchell was just like, bro, who's that guy that's number 6? He goes, oh, that's my little brother. Not really knowing, and I thought, flip, he's good for a year 11 kid. And, he just got to that point where he really didn't need to leave. In all honesty, didn't really need to leave. And so those guys are an exception. But the way that reps used to work was that like you just got a lister that was printed in the papers, and they're going, this is the South Island team, or this is the Central team, or this is Northern Region A's and B's, and you kind of just read it and go, oh, they must be the best. There was no kickback on any of that kind of stuff. So having a platform like this is, and then for me putting out my opinion, knowing that rep coaches throughout the whole year are going to be hearing me talk about all these players, that hopefully they become there's accountability to who are they selecting and why they're selecting that person, and that they're putting in honest effort and work, because some of these boys work out so hard that they should get a fair shot in terms of selection. I'm not saying that other kids are not worthy of that. I'm just saying that the process in which you go through hopefully stands up to the work and what you're supposed to provide for everybody else, because the public is trusting that you're picking the right guy because you've done your homework on him, not that some of your wife's cousin who has a mate that they used to play at school, he watches rugby a lot. It's like, yeah, that's a bit different. I watch rugby at the highest level. I watch 1A all the time, every single week. I watch Super 8 every single week. I watch Wellington Rugby every week. I watch Mars Toyota Cup, and these are all the biggest schools, biggest competitions in the country with CNI competition, and I watch that level. And then I can watch other levels before I watch those levels. And then I see the difference 100% out of those players that I see at pretty much 12 o'clock to those that I see at 2:30. My Saturdays, and this is just when I travel up to Auckland, my Saturdays are filled up of either 3 or 4 games. Sometimes I'll go up and then I watch a 9:15 game, which is an under 15 game, and I try and catch an under 15 game, and then I try and catch a 9:15, and then I try and catch a 10:30, which is close. I'll kind of be late to that one, and then I get to a 12 o'clock game, which is usually a 1B game, which always has like really good talent in 1B, or I go over the shore and then I go and see one of the Harbour games, and then at 2:30 I catch the 1A games. So for me, watching from under 15s, from 2 under 15 games or under 15 games to a first 15 game like in counties or something like that, to a first 15 game in the 1B, I've already seen a level change from under 15s to first 15 counties to 1B or to Harbour, their Harbour competition. And then I see another step up when I go to a 1A game. So if you have a selector that's watching a 1B week after week after week, and then they haven't seen a first 15 that goes into the 1B, 1A, and they're just watching 1B level all the time, their level of what they think is good, or what they think is fast, or what they think is elite, is different from my level. Because I'm watching all these games on Saturday and going from level up until 2:30. Then I'll come home, and then I'll go on, and then I'll start looking through all the games that are live streamed, whether it's by different companies, or whether it's by the school, or whether someone sends me it, or whether coaches go, hey, jump into our huddle. These are our huddle games. Have a check out, and things like that. Which I'm so grateful that coaches have let me do that, and also that coaches and parents have sent me games and clips and highlights, because then I'm able to see all these levels. Back in the days, it wasn't like that. Back in the days, they had nothing like this in terms of who was good, why they were good, and then this is the reason why. Is because I saw these games and I sort of matched them all up. A lot of it was based on whatever your mate is, or whatever your mate said, or your connections through guys that you know through rugby. And it's not their fault that now that we have the advantage of that, of being live streamed games. But my gripe and the thing that pisses me off a lot is that even selectors now don't take advantage of these kind of things. Don't take advantage of the fact that they can actually go and live stream games and watch games throughout the weekend. I miss out on a lot of Super Rugby games. The only game I really watch is the Chiefs. So whenever the Chiefs come on, I watch I'll watch rugby up until the Chiefs game. And then even during the Chiefs game, I'm like deleting photos. I'm also checking scores, doing highlights, and got my laptop and all that kind of stuff. And then when that game finishes, then I go back and then watch first 15 games through Saturday and Sunday. And I try and get through as much as I can. Go to church tired, eyes like this, trying to stay awake during church because I've watched first 15 rugby. Then I come home again, have a feed, and do some more first 15 rugby until it's all finished. Now, First 15 and all these selectors and stuff, they don't do that. They would rather watch League and the NRL. I miss out on the NRL too. I try and watch the Warriors. I know how gutting it is watching the Warriors, but I try and watch them too. Chiefs are always my priority first, and then everything else is filled up with first 15 rugby. I don't know anybody else in the country that puts that much determination and that much commitment into first 15 rugby. And it shows, because I make videos every single week and I do so much write-ups to show that I do this. Like, I actually do this. So to me, it's kind of a spit in the face to the players and to myself, in terms of when guys make selections based on, I know that they're not watching the games properly. Like, that sucks to me. That should suck to the kids who I know that are working out, because I see them on their Instagram, see them on their Facebook, going for runs, doing weights in the morning. I see their posts where they're saying, I'm giving up this food for this, and I'm giving up, I'm going to start this workout. I've seen this new workout. Coaches and that, and selectors that, I know 100% that they don't look at that stuff. Because they're not about this, first thing. They're not about this level, and they're not about this, the commitment that goes into trying to help these boys. I'm always player first. I don't care if you stay with rugby. I don't care if you leave to NRL. I don't care if you stay in New Zealand. I don't care if you go to Japan or France or England or Ireland or Dubai or Hong Kong or whatever. I'm for the boys first. My priority is always trying to get as much exposure to all the boys that are trying, and to try and help them get to that next level of professionalism wherever they get the opportunity to get it. And if one boy says to me, hey, I'm thinking about going to France, shot boat, go to France. If that's what you feel is good for you, go to France. You want to go to Japan, see something else, go to Japan. Don't worry about New Zealand rugby. Don't worry about if they're saying, this is your opportunity, they're missing. Whatever. Remember, 3.4% is your percentage of making a professional here in New Zealand. Do you want to really play with those kind of odds? It's like, no. Go to the best place where you can get the best opportunity. And especially overseas, where they offer scholarships attached to your contracts and to your scholarships. It's like university scholarships. Yeah, of course. They don't even do that in New Zealand. They're like part-time, part-time offers. They don't even tell you boys. And this is something I'm going to bring too. I'm going to talk to my friend who does a lot of this for Pacific Islanders, is that they have scholarships at all these different universities that Polynesian players can apply for when they go to these different places. So all you boys that are going down to Otago, and all you boys that are going down to Christchurch, down to Lincoln, or if you're going to Wellington, there's Pacific Island scholarships for education that you guys can apply for, that will be able to take care of some of your university fees. And then there's other ones for Pacific Rugby sports players, and there's other ones just for sports players. And you can apply for all of these that will take care of all that kind of stuff. We just don't know about it. New Zealand Rugby won't tell you about that stuff. Your agents won't tell you about that stuff, because that's not their job to do. That is not their job to do. So, for someone like myself, who I want to help all the boys, that's something that I'll bring back next week. I've got to go talk to my friend, ask her how which ones are available, at which places they're available at, and then I'll come back to you guys and then send you a link and make sure everybody knows about it so you guys can start applying now. And that could be the turn or the decision maker of where, and game changer of where you actually go to university and play your rugby. Now, for me, I would rather go to where the scholarships are. The more scholarships you get in terms of taking care of your education, I would rather go for where all the scholarships are going to, where you can get it, rather than where the better rugby opportunity is. Because unless they're paying you a lot more than a PUD, like a contract, you would rather go with the opportunity of education and rugby. I am always for education and rugby at the same time, not just one. And if you're religious, make sure you balance the fact that you have education, rugby, and religion. If you are religious. If not, have another balance. Don't center yourself just on one thing, because it's going to throw your whole life off. Have at least 3 things you can swap your life around, just so that one doesn't take over your life and become more of an expectation than anything else. Still keep it fun, keep it goal orientated, and keep it balanced throughout everything. All right, whether it's your education or apprenticeship, whether it's another sport or another hobby, something like that. Get into that kind of stuff. All right, and so I'm here, and my value in this is that I talk about everybody. I make sure that I talk as much as I can and write as much as I can, so that agents watch this, agents read my stuff, and agents look at my rankings and go, Herschel's talking about this boy. Let me just go see what he's talking about. Let me go see a game and see if Herschel's right or wrong. And that's what it's supposed to be for. Even you parents at home. Does he even know? Let me go and see this boy and see if he's better than my boy. Or let me go watch this live stream and see if Herschel's right about this player. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm here for. To make sure that everyone's talking about these kids and making sure that everyone has an idea of how much these boys go through, as well as have an idea of how high our level is in first 15 rugby, then watching them go through to club rugby and then on to professionalism. Because at the same time, you'll see stuff like, well, we also see how much players get wasted here. Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. A lot of you boys, if it was up to me, if my son was, even if I had a son, I would go, no, let's not worry about New Zealand. Go to France. Go get an education. Unless these guys are offering you money up front that's good enough to help you and your family, an opportunity that's not so far, and then they have actually a plan for you to come through. I wouldn't even want my son to do it, but no, it's all right. I got something from England. I got something from France. I got something from Japan. They've included education. Every one of you boys here that have agents and that already now that are looking for opportunity, push them to look for education. Remember, your agent works for you. It's not the other way around. It's not the other way around. Parents, it's not the other way around. All of you guys that's going through this right now, the agent works for you. You can fire him at any time. And 100%, and I know this sounds a bit of a dickish move, but if he's not doing what you guys want to do, even if it's like after a few months, go, hey, you're fired. We're going to find another agent. You have to do that. Don't feel uncomfortable doing that. For Samoans, he's not your faithful. He's not on that pedestal. He works for you. Find me some contracts. He works for you. Get me out of New Zealand. I want to go to Australia. It's easier to get, pathways are easier there. It's all right to say that. And if he goes, oh, no, you should stay here because that's not what I asked, bro. I asked you, please, go to Australia and see what I can get there. Take my highlight clip that you showed everybody in New Zealand and show it to them over there. I don't want to stay here. Don't let them convince you to stay here. Agents are great at talking. That's what they do. But if you've got something in mind where you go, no, I want to go to Australia, don't let them talk you out of it. If that's what you feel like doing, and you and your parents have discussed it, you go to your agent and say, hey, let's set up a meeting because I want to see what my other options are. I don't want to stay here in New Zealand. I feel like it's easier in Australia. I feel like I get to the force, a bit faster. I think if I went to the Rebels, it would be good. Can you see what they want there, or what they're looking for there? And if it feels like he's dicking you around, go, hey, I don't feel like you're doing this right. I'm going to find another agent that can do it. You're all right to do that. You can do that. Even if you've had this agent for 5-6 years and he's given you some opportunities, if he stops giving you opportunities and you feel like he's not doing the work that you want him to do, fire him and get somebody else. Islanders, you're all right to do that. It's fine. It's part of it. Because he's going to drop you once your interest dies out as well. And he's going to give you the same speech. Oh, there's just no interest in you. And I can't find you contracts, man. You might have to give this up. Like, no, maybe I just need to give you up, and then I've got to find somebody else. So don't feel uncomfortable with doing that. Parents, don't feel uncomfortable with doing that. He works for you. I would say she works for you, but I don't know any women, like female rugby agents in New Zealand. I don't think there is. But, those are the kind of things that we kind of have to look for as well. Is that, being and obviously, like, the reason why, get back to the reason why I started this is that I want to try and get people to talk about first team rugby, see how much talent is here, see how exciting it is. And the best thing about this is that it just rotates, and it's just a factory line of players and talent and new talent, not old talent. It's new talent all the time. I love going to the under 15 tournaments. I love seeing under 15 rugby because I go, oh shoot, this kid looks like he can be someone I can think about for my, top 60 year 11 next year. Then I like going to nationals, and I like seeing clips of under 15 rugby. I was like, oh, who's this kid? Man, he kind of looks like this player. He kind of looks like Shea Clark. This guy kind of runs like Etienne, doesn't he? This guy looks like Nelson Asofa Solomon. Like, this guy looks like a new Alex Fido. And I was like, oh, look at that TJ Vata kind of kid. That's kind of what I look at. Like, that's kind of what I see when I see all these boys coming through. And the thing is that it never gets old because I've got new boys that come through. I got new boys that are going from year 10 to year 11. I was like, oh, new crop of players that I can tell everybody about. We can get excited. You guys can start watching them from year 11, year 12, year 13, and then on to like NPC, what it is now, and even into Super Rugby. There's people like that have followed this for since 2013, that we now see, all these boys that are now All Blacks and Super Rugby players. All from like just me talking about them when they were in high school. And it's cool to see. Like, I love it. And I still see them. And even when I was at the All Black game, and it's I don't know I kind of don't know how to explain it, because I know that they're wearing the All Black jersey. I know that they're wearing the Crusaders and Chiefs and Blues uniform. And I even know they're wearing the Wallabies jersey. But I see them as a Sacred Heart jersey. I see him in a Mags jersey, in a Hamilton Boys jersey, in a, I see them in their St. Kennigan's jerseys. I see them in their first 15 jerseys in my eyes when I'm watching them. I still see Akita as the young Akita that I saw at Auckland Grammar playing around. Even Rico, I still see them like that. I still see them when it's like you're watching them in their black jersey, but I just see that navy blue jersey with the gold lion on it, and that's kind of how I watch him. I see Sevu Reece running in his, Hamilton Boys jersey when I see him get the intercept and go down. Like, I see them like that, and I don't know, I just can't get them out of my head in terms of, because I saw them like that for so long. That's the first time I saw them and idolized them and became a massive fan of all these boys. That's how I see it. Even when I see Super Rugby, I see like all these guys just wearing their Scotch uniform, their St. Pat's uniform, their Christchurch Boys uniform, but they're playing professional. I see all these guys that have come from St. Paul's Galicia. I was like, yeah, I still see them in that black and gold. This is just how I see them. I just see them like that. But I love it. I love seeing them like that. I love that I have this kind of, I guess, I don't know, this vision of it differently to how I'm watching the game. And I watch it with a lot of pride and for the player and where he's gotten to. That's how I watch them. I don't watch them before how I used to watch them where I thought, this is the All Blacks. I was like, no. I was like, well, that's Rico. He's playing for the All Blacks now. And I saw him as like a 15-year-old. The first time I ever watched him, I was like, yeah, I watched him as a 15-year-old. I saw boys when they were 14 and then make it through all the way to the All Blacks. Strange. Well, I watched them go from, under 15s to New Zealand Sevens players. It's like, wow. Like Nigel, I didn't ever think that he would go that far to that. I didn't even, I just thought, he's probably going to be a pretty good Chiefs player. And then he became this sort of like superstar, New Zealand Sevens player. I was like, wow. Caleb Clark was kind of the same too. I was like, damn, shot, bro. But I still see him in his Mags uniform. I still see him in the striped blue and gold. Because that's the uniform that he wore, was the big. Like, even when I see Isaiah Papali'i, I see him and Caleb in the same uniform. I see them like that. And it's strange, and it's like, that's that, and that's kind of like the happiness that I get when I watch this. It's like, man, I see them all in their colours, see them all in their uniforms. To me, it's like when they have like club day at I was like, for me it'd be like, if they had their first 15 day, where are their first 15 stocks? To me, that's more impressive than watching their, them in their club colours. But that's just my level of, what I care about. I know all of these older guys, they care about club rugby. It's like, I'd rather watch first 15 rugby is better. And there's an argument to that. An argument that all the older heads don't want to give up because they still think it comes from club rugby. It's like, nah. If you guys were closer to it, you'd see that it's just like, it's got nothing to do with club rugby. You're scouted from high school. 100%. And those high school boys at the top level will skip and jump over all these guys that are in club rugby and go straight to, the NPC. And then it only takes you like a year or two after high school, and you're already jumping all these other guys. So they've already scouted you from first 15 rugby, and you're still 19, 20-year-olds are still making it into these sides because of their first 15 performances and making it to New Zealand, under 20s Chiefs and Blues and Highlanders, and then they make it into New Zealand under New Zealand under 20s, and those are the guys that are more considered than anything else. Remember, it's 3.4%. It's going to come from those kind of teams, not from the lower ones. You're going to get lucky, like if guys that remember Scott Hamilton, was just like he took years to get up, but he got his moment when he was like 26, 27. No rep teams or nothing like that. But that's one guy. That's one guy. So to me, 3.4%, make him professional, make it into like, sometimes it's better to think about going overseas. One thing I was thinking about as well is that, because I've got girls, I got two girls, I got no boys, I got two girls. One girl's into dancing, dances at the Palace with the Palace studio with Paris Goebel's dance studio. And my other daughter is a basketball player. She's pretty rough. I try and make her like a girly girl, but sometimes it just doesn't come off right when it comes from me. It's like, even when I buy her girls clothes and stuff like that. So I think about those kind of things because of my girls. I have girls, and I want to try and do something with girls rugby, and I want to try and build it up and do the same thing I'm doing with the boys that I can do with the girls too. And I've been keeping in touch with what competitions are going on, but I still feel like it's not enough. I still feel like it's they're taking too small of a step instead of taking bigger steps to be able to get more girls playing and involved, and not just playing games, but like having that same experience as the boys, where you're playing girls from outside of your region and playing girls from outside from other schools that you don't know about and things like that. A lot of boys didn't even know what Dunstan High School was, or no one's heard of Waimea until they started following, my website and then following where these schools are from, and then they kind of look into it. It's like, there's a St. Kevin somewhere. It's just like, where's that? And then, you know, Kaipara, no one knows where that was, or Kerikeri, you know, like places like that, and even like Aquinas College, like no one even heard of that before. Central Coast, like no one hears of these places. But when they hear about them and they play against them, it's a bit different because you get this experience of a rugby trip and all that kind of stuff. I wish the Girls Rugby would do that. I wish Girls Rugby was that same way. I had my plan of how I would build it using 10-a-side rugby within your regions and having 4 one-day tournaments a year. And that would be done within the terms. Making sure that you had you know, a tournament of, you know, 20 teams of girls of 10-a-side. I just played for a full-day tournament like it is like sevens, and then picking a rep team at the end, or like a tournament team at the end, doing that 4 times throughout the year. You only need to travel the one day so that you're not spending too much money to stay overnight or anything like that, for those schools that can't afford that. And then also being able to have girls see other girls' teams, see other ones, because the only time they see that is at Condors, which is a great setup. Having Condors like that, and then they get to see all these other teams, like, oh shoot, that's what they look like. I remember seeing that girl, I was like that, and then all these 15-year-olds who are all playing at or sometimes you have year 9s. If you have year 9s playing all the way through, they get to know other girls from other schools that are not even close to them. And they get to see all these girls, and then they get to, you know, form relationships and all that kind of stuff as well that that the boys get to do as well. And I want them to do something like that within their regions, because I feel like we have an opportunity now with how Sevens is doing so good with the New Zealand Sevens team, as well as our women's team as well, being the number 1 team in the world, and the amount of young talent that's coming through. Now, New Zealand Rugby's got their little programs that they're doing, but I feel like they need to do it from high school and then build on it when they go, to get them from high school, to talk to them about going to club rugby in their areas, and then making sure they're informed of what clubs there are. Because it's not so automatic like it is with boys. Like if you're here from Dinsdale, where I'm from, or if you're from Temple View, where I was pretty much raised, it's like for us in Temple View, we look at it and we go, well, for majority of us, we all went down to Hautapu. The others might go to Fraser Tech, and the others might go to Melville, because Melville's really good right now. So in your mind, it's like we already know where that is. For girls, it's not automatic of where they go to. They go, oh, so what clubs are there? But if you're having a regional based one, you can inform them on clubs that are in their areas, and talk to the schools and talk to the girls and go, this is what club rugby is like. This is what you're going to get to. Some of these girls here that maybe at different schools may play for the same club that you play for. Then you're going to see them next year and be their teammate. That's what you're trying to build up. But they're not doing that. That's why I feel like if you had tournaments for girls and 10-a-side, not 15-a-side, because not all girls schools can provide a 23 to 26 girl roster, it's just like, well, make it a 10-a-side. But make sure you choose a 15-a-side tournament team from all the girls that are there, so that there is some kind of individual aspect to this as well. Apart from winning the 10-a-side tournament for your region, like the Blues region, you also have a tournament team and an MVP player and a best back and a best forward, stuff like that. So there's individual stuff there that other girls who are a lot better have something else to focus on and try and put down on their goals or their vision board or whatever they want to do. You know, have those kind of aspects for it. I know we're all about inclusion in terms of teams and whatever, but some people are just different. Some people just, you know, came from a different cloth, and so these ones that were highly competitive are the ones that are most likely going to go through to New Zealand Sevens and New Zealand 15s. It's just like that. You know, you don't make it to, you know, Super Rugby and All Blacks just being like nonchalant about everything and just be like, you know, yeah, I'll go training sometime. It just depends. Oh, yeah, okay, you're now invited to the Chiefs. So, no, it doesn't work like that. Not at all. All these guys put in a lot of hard work, and so there's a bit more focus on guys that have these personal goals of where they want to go to. They do the mahi, get the treats kind of stuff, right? So these girls are the same. A lot of these girls are seeing these girls on TV. I seen Ruby Tui and going, I want to be like her. I want to be like Portia Woodman. You know, I want to be like these kind of girls that I see on TV, that I see at the Olympics, and go, I need to work hard to get there. Those are the ones that are looking for these individual points, these individual accolades, these individual achievements, and going, cool, I'm on that line. Oh, cool, I got invited to the Blues under-18s reps for the girls. Oh, cool, we got a New Zealand secondary school now. I made it to the camp. I'm going to try and make that team. And even if they miss out, they're going to go, cool, at least I got there. I got next year to try and do it too. I got the under-20s New Zealand girls that should be playing, you know, all these other teams, like club teams around the country. They should have these kind of opportunities, but they don't. I want to try and help out because I want to be able to try and add some information, add some ideas to try and get New Zealand Rugby to do it faster. Let me know if even these kind of things are attainable and are able to even be able to be thought of, because no one else knows what's happening. And New Zealand Rugby is so secretive about it that they don't want to tell anyone, so everyone thinks that they're not doing anything, even if they're doing something. Like, people just want to know that you're doing something about it. And somehow, and for most of the time, I don't think they're doing a lot for girls rugby. Last year was cool that they invited some girls to the under-18 camps. But at the same time, it's like, why don't you just put all those girls together and just make a New Zealand secondary school team and then have them play some under-19 teams from around the country? Why is that not? You know, we all look at Georgia Smith and we know that she's going to be a big deal. She's already playing NPC right now at Openside. But why not try and get that started in high school with these girls that are like her and that have all these, you know, dreams of being, you know, a New Zealand player, going to Condors, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, going to Olympics and Commonwealth and doing the 7th circuit for New Zealand. Playing in 15s is like, man, yeah, like, we got to start pushing that stuff. And I really want to help out with that stuff, especially in the high school side of it. But New Zealand Rugby don't want to deal with me. That's pretty much the reality of it, is that they just don't want to deal with me. They don't like the fact that I do rankings for players in the country and rankings for, you know, teams in the country, but they have all the benefits of me doing all the work for them. They have a New Zealand secondary schools side that has pretty much just ranked everybody in the country and said, you're the best to go in our best team. I'm like, what? How are you not doing the same thing I'm doing? But you got a team, so if I made a top 200 team, then it's okay, because I've made a team out of it. There's an achievement in terms of a team spot. And if that's the case, and if that's what you guys are asking me to do, all you rich guys that have been following this for years, because I know there's a bunch of you guys, that all you guys have these private school kids and have been on there, and I've talked to you guys a lot. It's like, jump on board with me, let's make a team. Just to shore up the same thing. I would rather do what Stephen Adams is doing. I just don't have $100 million like him. And I'd rather do my own tournament and go, hey, I'm going to pick 2 teams that I like and bring them all into camp and go, hey, let's just do our own thing, and then we'll have our own you know, rep game. I'll pick my top, you know, I'll pick the top 50 best players in the country that I like, and I'll put them in through, get all the coaches and paid for and all that kind of stuff. I'll do it that way if I had $100 million here. But I'm not Stephen Adams. So, anyone out there that would want to help me out, hit me up. Do things differently, you know. And talking about reps, right? And that's the girls one done. The reps, I'm not too sure if we're going to get a Blues, Chiefs, Hurricanes, Highlanders, Crusaders teams. I don't know. I think they might select a team. I don't know if they'll actually be able to get to do anything. I don't think Australia is coming here, and I don't think we're going over there. But again, for the second year in a row, why are we not getting a Samoan, Maori, Tongan, and a Barbarian team going? I'm not too sure if we have enough Fijians in New Zealand to put together a good solid squad that will be able to match up with the Samoans, Tongans, and the Maoris, and even the Barbarians team with, all the other, coaches and players left over. If we just got a strictly Fijian team, I don't think we would have enough players to be competitive. We'll have enough players, but to be competitive is different. We have enough Samoans and Tongans and Maoris for that, but I don't know about Fijians. Unless we just put them in the Barbarians team with everybody else, I think it would be a more solid rep team. But why do we not get those teams together? Why can't we have a New Zealand secondary school team play a mini tournament against a Samoan team, a Tongan team, a Maori team, and then another Barbarians team, just to have all these top rep players all playing together against each other, and we can still have these boys that deserve that New Zealand secondary school selection wear the silver fern and represent that country, the country, and be able to play with it. That's always my thing, is like, why can't we do that? Because we know that after we select our New Zealand secondary schools, even a Barbarian side, there's so much more players, there's so much more talented players left out there that will still remain competitive against your New Zealand and your Barbarian team. I don't understand that. I don't understand how they wouldn't want to do something like that. Surely there's some Samoans and Tongans out there who would be keen to sponsor something like that. Surely there's guys out there that will be like, they will have a bit of money, that sees the value in this. And if you want to get advertising, whatever else outside of it, it's like, yeah. I mean, you can live stream it too. Sell advertising on the live streaming. To be able to get this game and to get, I guess, your money back for whatever you want. And I guarantee you 100% that if you have a New Zealand secondary school live stream, even if it's on YouTube or live stream shop, who are my friends Daniel Whiteson and Helen Wrightson as well. If Livestream Shop streamed this tournament and did it through YouTube, and everyone could watch, and they sell advertising through that, like, just the amount of hype that it would have, and the views that would come from it too. And like Daniel and Helen Wrightson have that ability to do that. They have the equipment to do that. They have the passion to put a professional production on a first 15 talent. And I wish that I could take them everywhere I went and all the games that I saw, to do the same thing with the games that I watched, so that everybody else could see them too. But why not? Why are we not taking advantage of like things like this, and being able to have all the best players in the country, making it a country thing, a Samoan team, Tongan team, and a Maori team against a New Zealand secondary school and a New Zealand Barbarians team. It was like, why not? It would be a great watch for everybody. It would be a great, tournament to have while we can't have Australia come down. And even if it was the case of Australia was coming down, it's like, still have the tournament, just add Australia in there. How would that not be a cool thing to watch? Like, how would those games not be cool games to watch? Just just have it random. Just make sure New Zealand and Australia at least play once. And then, just to get that thing out of the way. But then have a random draw of, Australia playing Samoa and Tonga, or New Zealand playing, Tonga and the Maori team, and the New Zealand Barbarians and Samoa play Australia. Like, things like that. It's like, why not? Like, in terms of viewing value, which is something that New Zealand Rugby still hasn't got it onto, is that, and this is how I know that New Zealand Rugby is not up to date with how things are viewed, is because their YouTube channel sucks for content. It sucks for content. Super Rugby, New Zealand, Aotearoa, like, their content sucks. And I know 100% you can get, this is how dumb it is, right? And this is how terrible they are at doing this. Is that they have all the resources in the world for editing. They have all the resources in the world for writing. They have the money to go along with it. And they can't even put out a video every day. Some kind of content every day. They could hire a 20-year-old who has a following on IG, or has a following on Facebook, or has a TikTok following, and go, tell us how you do this. Let's hire you and tell us how you put out content every day. And he or she is going to go, oh, I just look at it like this, and so maybe you should do this with that, and maybe you should do this with this. And it doesn't even have to be much. Just put out a content a day. I follow the Chargers YouTube page. Every single day they have at least like 5 videos up. Someone's mic'd up, someone's doing this offshoot, someone's doing that coming home, following someone during the day, asking them what they did today, how was training today, what you do on your off days, how's your family going, this is your hobby, show us what you're doing for your hobby. And none of these teams, like even my Chiefs, who I love a lot, I wish I was a part of their media side to say, hey, we've got a whole squad of players here, all from different parts of the country. I would be able to say we can put out 2 pieces of content every single day. I put almost 5 to 6 pieces of content out a week just on High School Top 200 alone, all off my own thoughts of what I think that everyone should see. And I just take a gamble from write-ups to lists to posts on Facebook to IG stuff to so when I go to games, I put stuff up from games that I go, like, just so much stuff. And this is just me with my own platform, and I don't even have the money to have editors and for me to go, hey, just go follow this guy around, follow him, do this, I know that he likes to do this, go follow him around, just come back, we'll edit it up and we'll put this out on this day, this on the next day, this on the next day. And every single day there's something there that's from the players to the people. How are you guys not doing this? And this is the reason why I know that New Zealand as a whole is terrible at doing this stuff. And the worst thing about it is that they don't want to go and ask some young fella, and some guy has some grandkid who's on their IG all day, who works for New Zealand Rugby, and they could just go, boy, what are you guys doing in there? Show me how to do that. How do we put this on the All Blacks thing? You don't even have to hire someone. Go to your grandkids and ask them. You've got some granddaughters, right? New Zealand Rugby old fellas up there. You got some granddaughters. You got some grandsons that are always on their phone. And you get annoyed because they're dancing, in front of the thing. It's like, yeah, but they're also getting views and content out. You should be doing the same thing and just asking your granddaughter, hey, why did you do that? Oh, people like that stuff? Okay, we'll just try it here. Easy. Tell your nerd editor fellas, hey, come edit this out. Come edit this and we'll put this up and see what it looks like. It's fine. I don't know why you guys don't do that. Instead, all our rugby players are watching American football highlights, are watching basketball highlights on all the basketball sites in the country, looking at soccer highlights because they put out so much content. I watched St. John's Bosco and Central Florida, who are two top American football teams over in America right now in high school. I watched the game 2 days ago because they were on YouTube. Because they did highlights of the game, and then they had the full game on there, and I watched the whole thing. Because St. John's Bosco is one of the teams, along with De La Salle College, along with Long Beach Poly, Mater D, and all these teams, and all the teams I watch in American football high school have a bunch of Samoans and Tongans in them. Obviously, why I watch them. But that's the thing, is it's like, if you guys don't know what is attractive to younger people who you want staying in rugby and to have their attention on rugby, then bloody ask your grandkids. Get younger people in there to show you what everyone's watching and how they are watching. They're not watching on TV anymore. They watch on this bloody phone that you're watching me on right now. You're watching me on your tablet. That's the reason why. You're watching audio, or you're listening to audio stuff. I listen to a podcast on audio all the time. Joe Rogan a lot. Tiger Belly a lot. I watch Brilliant Idiots a lot. I watch YMH. I watch all these guys, our bad friends, all these, even I Am Athlete. I watch Knuckleheads podcast. I watch, what's the other one? All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. I watch Bussing with the Boys, which is the American football one. I watch all these podcasts and listen to all these podcasts because it's all the content out there. But you guys don't do it. Now our bloody All Black captain right now, who should have a podcast, who should keep it consistent, who should be doing it right now, is limited because you guys don't know what the content is and what people like to listen to. I want to listen to that stuff. We just don't have it. That's why I'm making this podcast now and have been for the last 3 years, because you guys don't want to do it. And you guys don't even want to give me funding to make this even better and more enjoyable to watch, because I have other ideas. My talent's just limited because I don't know how to do this. That's why I'm doing it on my phone. You guys at New Zealand Rugby need to make this better if you want to keep eyes on rugby. And I'm not just talking about eyes on the All Blacks. I'm talking about eyes on rugby as a whole. You think numbers are slipping because of something else, that people aren't enjoying rugby? No, it's that they can't even enjoy rugby until the game's on. And even then, you guys don't even cut the highlights for these games and take all the best parts of the games, all the funny bits of parts of the games, all this. It's like, man, do that kind of stuff. How do you guys not know how to do this stuff? You guys got resources and everything. And I realize that I'm ranting now about flipping New Zealand Rugby and how useless they are in terms of trying to get people to watch rugby, but they don't want to put the effort into it. It's like, man, it's annoying. It's annoying. So annoying. Because I'm doing my best with the little resources that I have. And I go out there and do all my own research. Everything. I get help from so many parents who I'm thankful for. I get help from so many coaches who I'm helpful for. I get help from so many companies which I'm helpful for, in terms of being able to provide me with things that I wouldn't be able to do. That's the thing that sucks so much, is that I put so much effort into this, and these guys like me out there that are trying hard, but we get no support. But the entity at the top wants us all to pay attention to rugby, but they don't want to help the younger people, the smaller ones that are doing it for them and helping them out. They don't want to help them do it. Strange. Then how the hell are we supposed to get there? How the hell are we supposed to help everyone else enjoy this sport and enjoy this country sport that we have in our bloods, and you guys don't want to help? You just expect us to do it. Cut it out, man. Sometimes it's not even holding camps. Sometimes it's just being on the device. That's what kids see. Help little boys with content on the device, so they don't go to A for Adley or watch these stupid idiots, screaming at the screen going, like my girl watches this. Man, there's this guy there, this white dude and this Asian dude that she watches play games like Among Us and stuff. And, I was like, man, I get so annoyed. I feel like, it's like, why are they yelling at you? It's like, they're trying to talk, but they're yelling, and then they do like a slime challenge. It's like, yeah, kids are watching these idiots because they can't watch kid stuff with rugby that you want kids to watch. It's like, yeah, then make some kid stuff for them. Get some of your All Blacks to play Among Us and put it up on there, and I'll show my daughter that, and they'll watch him. I was like, yeah, he's the one that Daddy watches on rugby. My daughter watches rugby for the national anthem, for the haka, and then for about 5 minutes of the game. And then she's like, all right, Dad, bye, love you. If you got them to play video games and live stream them, and then get kids to say, oh, we'll rather watch these guys than watch these American guys, or watch these Canadian guys, or these French guys, or this, like, you know, this guy from England. It's like, no, how about we just watch our players do it? Because I know all you players out there, especially in, you know, right now in the Chiefs and all that, you guys are all live streaming. Live stream your games. New Zealand Rugby, help them live stream their games. Then share it. Then make sure that they see it, and then make sure the kids see it, so they can go, oh, I want to watch, you know, Anton Leonard-Brown play games. It's like, I don't know if he does. It's like, I want to watch them play it. You know, I want to watch Geordie Barrett play it. You know, stuff like that. I don't know, I'm ranting because I've got too many ideas, but New Zealand Rugby doesn't want to use it. Or they'll just watch this video and go, okay, listen to what he says, and not give me any credit. Something like that. Anyway, this is High School Top 200. Herschel, peace.